Okay, so we're gonna do lab 1 in this class. Pretty easy. We're gonna focus on confidentiality and integrity in this particular lab. And we're gonna use Kali Linux. So in this class, we're gonna use Kali Linux quite a lot, right? More often than Windows. There will be times that we're gonna use Windows virtual machine, but for most part, we are gonna do Linux-based command tools. So you can visit this website. The reason why I suggest that you use Chrome here is in Edge, if you don't save and open, it puts it into a temporary file, and then you are going to get confused and not find it. So it's best that you copy this link, right, to Chrome browser and be able to download it. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and right click, copy, open up my Chrome, and then paste and go, and it's gonna take me to this website. This is freely available to all of you, so after this class or another time that you want to practice, you can always go over here to download your virtual machine. I use VirtualBox flavor because it's just accessible to everyone. VMware, you can use the player. It's free. VMware has its own NAC along with the others. But if you use other type of hypervisor, you can select the option. So today and in this class, we're going to use VirtualBox. So in the middle option, you're going to see the down arrow. You're going to go ahead and click that to download. And once it's finished download, it's going to go to your downloads folder. Okay, so make sure that you have it saved to the download folder or store it there. So this is what I have, and it's going to come down like this. So again, after you click the link, use Chrome browser, right? Click the download button, and you're going to have access to the downloaded virtual machine. When you are done, right, on your desktop, you can open up this PC or your folder, and then go to downloads, and you should be able to see Kali Linux version 224.24.4 VBox. We cannot use it like it is, right? We have to extract it. So you are going to right click and choose extract. Extract it. Open it after it's downloaded. Okay, so once you have the download, you're going to go to the downloads folder, and we're going to right click, go to show more options, go to 7-zip, and then you're going to do extract files. Okay. We must extract, and if you are using your computer, you need to have 7-zip installed because Kali has put up a file that is zip with 7-zip. I can email. I'll have to write it down. Okay, so everybody extracted, okay? So after I download, right click, right? show more options, 7-zip, extract files, and then click OK. And it's going to take a couple minutes to do that. You need to extract it before you open it, okay? Because if you don't, you're going to get an error. Download, right click, extract. We've done it many times. You can do it. All right. So how do I know these steps? These steps can be found on your lab document, right? If you follow this, it walks you through how to download, how to extract. Okay, so if you're not following me in person, you can just refer to this. So I'm at step 4. Okay, so I visit the website, I download it, I go to the downloads folder, I right click to 7-zip and I extract it. So if you do this at home, again, you have to have 7-zip installed. Once you extract, let's come back here, you're gonna see a folder without the 7 symbol. I mean the 7 icon. And that's important because if you open up the other folder, you're gonna get an error. Okay. And the easiest way is you're gonna open up this folder, it's subfolder, it's buried within, and you're gonna see a blue cube file, right? The VBox file, and this is your virtual box. Now the VDI is virtual disk, okay? The orange one doesn't work. That's just connected to the actual virtual box because it has to have storage. So we're gonna double click this and it's gonna open up the application and it's gonna put it on the playlist. So this is the playlist right here, okay? So once we download it and extract it, and if you get there, right, you can open up the folder and extract it. Likely that it's because right click remove only, just take it off the playlist. For some reason, you notice that okay, everybody okay? I need to give me 1 second. Let me pop this on email for the student in the back. Okay, so once we extract and we got it onto the playlist, and how did I do that? I just locate my folder on my downloads, open up its subfolder and double click the blue file. Then it's gonna show this, right? It's turned off, so you're gonna go ahead and click start. So I'm at step 7, okay? And so with that, we should be able to see our virtual machine boot up. It's gonna take a few minutes to do that, or even seconds. And you should be able to have your VM running, okay? And the login is Callie. Okay, so once you see the login, you're gonna go ahead and type in your username, which is Callie, and the password is Callie. And if you see these little pop-up on the right, it's just notification. You can click the baby blue X and to minimize it. Okay. So once that goes, you're gonna see the desktop of the computer or the virtual machine. Okay, that's sent. All right, so now once I'm here, right, I already logged in. I'm gonna move to part B. Everybody okay? Any questions? Okay, so we're gonna look at the confidentiality. And confidentiality, we talked about this earlier. So the purpose is to make sure that we protect the sensitive information from the individuals that's not supposed to see it. We're gonna look at an option like using encryption. Remember, the encryption requires a lot of resources, but we want to implement that. And so how can I use encryption with Linux, right? An option that we can do is we can use ccrypt to encrypt, okay? So always a good practice to organize your folder and file. It's always good to encrypt the parent container, the folder, instead of, so if I have 100 files, I throw it in the folder and I encrypt the folder. That's better than sitting there and encrypting 100 files, right? So we want to encrypt the container of the objects. So we're gonna start out with going back here to Kali Linux. You're gonna click the black square at the top icon. That's gonna be your terminal. You open that up, okay? And what you're gonna do is you're gonna write in the command. So first we're gonna make a folder called the secret folder. So we're gonna do an mkdir and we're gonna do secret. So mkdir just means make directory, and that will be secret is the name of that directory. I just need it to be a little bit less. Are we okay? Okay, so once you type that command, press enter, and if nothing, no error, that means you're successful, right? So I made a folder. Where is that folder? It's under home for that user, right? It's home is kind of like documents in Windows. That's where all your stuff for that profile is. Okay, so once I made the folder, I'm gonna go ahead and access the folder by changing the directory. So cd secret. Now, if you don't see it bolded, that means that you don't have that folder. Case sensitive is matter in Linux. So if you type uppercase S, then you have to make sure that it matches. Okay. So once we create a folder, now we're gonna get inside the folder by doing change directory, cd secret. We're gonna press enter. Once we change the directory, you notice that the path changed, right? It added that folder to the path. So we're inside that folder. Now we're gonna do a cat. In my CIS27 for the first lab, I introduced Linux like this. It's because I want to make sure that you know how to do this for the field, right? So who remember what cat means? What's the cat command? So we're gonna concatenate, right? Cat also allows you to create files and read text file. So we're gonna cat a file called my secret. .text. So let's say that I have a text file, right? That I want to encrypt. So when we cat this, we're gonna make this file. We're gonna create a text file called my secret. Okay. Once you type in that command for step 13, press enter, and it's gonna show the body of the file. So this is what it wants you to type in whatever text you want to append to that file, right? So my secret is going to contain the sentence, this is my secret file. period. Okay? So when you cat, you have to say what's in the content of the file. So we're gonna put the content of the file right there. Okay. So once you're done, and you can go on and type more if you want, right? But for step 14, we put in the content of the file, and then we're gonna press Control and D. Okay. Control and D. So make sure you click in the virtual machine, because sometimes it doesn't register your key press, right? Because it thinks the host machine. Are we okay so far? Any questions? Okay, so what I did was I made a folder. I go inside that folder. I created a file using cat command, and I placed content in that file as text. This is my secret file. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a list command. You want to list it so that way you can see, what's in that folder. So I'm interested in whether that file exists or it was created, right? So you're going to do lowercase l s space dash lowercase l. And it tells me that here is my text file and the permissions, right, for the Kali user for that file. Because I created the file, I have the read and write permission for that particular file. You see that? Right? You guys know how to read the Linux permissions? World, group, and everyone. Right? Okay, make sure we remember. All right. So once we have this, we're going to do a screenshot. If you're not familiar with doing screenshot, right? I like to use snip, so you can use snip. Click new, and then you can just drag it and paste it right there onto the document. Okay? Right here. Like that. Or you can use other technique, but snip is gonna be easy. Okay, then what we're gonna do is we're gonna do an update. So sudo apt-get update. And Kali Linux, you can copy paste the command, right? I suggest that you learn how to type it so that when you remember, because muscle memory, you have to build it over time. Copy and paste is easy. It's not a long lab, but if you're not sure if it's a long command, you can copy paste. So what we're gonna do is it's gonna ask for password. We're gonna type in Kali. Okay, sudo apt-get update. I forgot the hyphen. Okay, this is gonna take a couple minutes. Before you install any software, any tools, or update, we need to push update. Every time you use Kali Linux, the first thing you should do is update. It's gonna mitigate a lot of the problems down the line, because as you use security tools in it, even if it's a recent version, you're gonna see that there are changes in it, and then things don't work, okay? So what we're gonna do is we are going to make sure that we have the software after we push the updates by installing it. And this is what you can use the command to install. So once I updated, I'm at step 17. I'm going to go ahead and install ccrypt. So if you read into ccrypt, it's a pretty good, it has pretty good encryption algorithm, right? So it's not something weak. So we can implement ccrypt for our system. So we're going to do sudo apt-get install ccrypt. Any questions? Yes. Because it's likely not extracted properly. So to fix that, I'm going to let you click right click remove in the middle, remove only. Okay. Go to your downloads folder. Let me see. Click back on the downloads folder on the left. Click downloads on the left. One more. Yeah, so see how there's a zip? Can I see? It's still a zip file. You're opening something that's compressed, so you need to decompress it. So right click, show more options, 7-zip, extract properly in the building. And then once that's extracted, you have this folder, open it up and open the food file. Now wait till it's done. Other questions? We're okay? All right. We need to install ccrypt and then we're gonna move forward to the encryption file. Open it. Look at the last step. Okay. So it's misspelled. Double L. It should, because if it doesn't understand your command, then it's fine. Up arrow key and I'll see your history. Press up arrow key. Update the book you installed. That's done. It's mandatory. Because they develop based on the update of other components of the OS. Okay, so we have to update before we install. All right, so once we have ccrypt, you are gonna encrypt the file that you made. Remember that we're still in the folder, right? Always look at your path where you are, right? It's kind of like, think about where you are in the building. You have to be, we're inside the room, so make sure we're inside the folder when we're accessing the file. We're gonna go ahead and do step 19 after we install. So we're gonna do encrypt my secret dot text. So that means that we're going to encrypt the file, my secret.txt that we made earlier with ccrypt. Press enter. And it's going to ask you, you need to make a key, right? This is a key that you can use to protect the file. So by practice, we want to make sure that it's lengthy. For the lab, I only put down secure 01 because it's easy for you. So but in real world, right, we want to make sure that we use 12 characters plus and so on, because the longer the character, the harder it is for them to generate the key, right? So we're going to do, now remember, just type, don't wait for the cursor to blink, okay? Just type. And press enter and then type again. Don't look at the cursor, because if you do, then it's going to confuse you and you're gonna be like, oh, it didn't register what I typed, just type, don't look at the blinking cursor. Because the way they design it, it doesn't follow it doesn't blink, okay? So don't worry about the blinking of the cursor, just type. Okay, so once I put in my key, I'm gonna go ahead and access. You're already here, so you don't need to do this step. Okay. So if you're in the folder already, you don't have to do 22. And then we're gonna do LSL again. And you can also do an up arrow key to repeat the command. So you notice that the difference, right? Earlier, I only have the .text file. Once I use the encryption tool, my file is changed. It added a file extension CPT. So this is how we know that it is encrypted, because the file extension has changed. So in Linux, a lot of the times the property, the attributes of the file is modified with the software by using file extension. In Windows, sometimes that's the case depending on the software, right? And then in the earlier version, you see that it also changes the look of the file by putting a zip or something on it. So this is how I know that it is encrypted, because the file extension CPT is added. Okay, so screenshot this. And then it asks you, how do you know if the file is encrypted? Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, screenshot it, and then what is the file extension? And then we need to compare it to earlier, right? Is it different? Yeah, of course, it added the CPT. That's how we know it's encrypted. You're already in it. Yeah, you already in it. .txt, but once we encrypted it, added another extension, right? Another dot, whatever, okay? So once we have that, we look at the new file here with the file extension. What we're going to do is we are going to copy it. So we want to look at how the property of the file and how it, so let's say that I copy your encrypted file. Can I access it? So we're going to do a CP, and you can copy paste this one if you don't want to type it, right? So I'm going to go ahead and copy, and I'll show you in here. We're going to go ahead and right click, and then you're going to go paste selection. Okay. And then press enter. So that's how you can copy and paste. You just highlight it and right click copy. And then you can go into the virtual machine where the cursor is, you right click, and then you do paste selection. Okay. And that's going to allow you to copy paste from outside inside. Now, not all virtual machine allows you to do this, but Kali allows you to do this. So, okay. So what I did was I created a copy of my encrypted file, and I name it copy my secret.txt. Okay. So basically I duplicated the encrypted file and then rename it copy my secret.txt. Okay. So now what we're going to do is we are going to see if we can access it. Remember, encryption only works if you cannot see plain text, right? So cat is going to allow us to read the copied file. Okay. So it's mumbo jumbo, right? Remember earlier I said this is my secret file. It doesn't show that. It shows symbols. And so that I know now that even if I copy the encrypted file, I cannot read it. It's kind of like, you know how if you lock up your letter, right? Even if you make a copy of that locked up letter, you're not going to be able to see whatever that's on that letter. So once it's encrypted, even a duplicate of it, you cannot see. right? Even if we change the file extension, you see how it's symbols right there instead of, you know, a sentence that we put earlier? Does that make sense? Okay. So what I did was I created a copy, step 24, and then step 25, I tried to read the copied file, which is copy my secret.txt. At that point, I'm going to screenshot it, right? And then what do I see? Do I see plain text or do I see symbols, right? I only saw symbols. So does it mean that it's still encrypted? Yes. Because the whole point of encryption is to take something plain text and make it not readable. It should not make sense, right? So it doesn't contain plain text. So when I look, not plain text. All right, so that's how we did the encryption there. Now, after we encrypt, okay, we're at step 24 and answer the question. We're gonna go ahead and decrypt. We're gonna decrypt the encrypted file. So we're gonna unlock it now. Okay. So we can copy this or you can type it. And then paste the command. And it's going to ask for the decryption key. Remember, the cursor doesn't blink, so you just need to type. And the key should be the key that you had created earlier from the earlier step, right? So if I look, step 20 and 21, it's going to show you the key. So for someone who doesn't know the key, they're not supposed to access it. Therefore, it's confidential, right? So we're going to type in our key. Just type, don't look at the cursor. And if you type correctly, it should move to the next pop-up. If you don't, it's going to tell you error key and then you have to retype. But don't look at the blinking of the cursor. Okay, so we got the key put in. Now what we're going to do is we are going to look at the file by doing LSL again. And because we decrypted it, it got rid of the CPT extension, right? That was, you know, so it removed the CPT extension. So it's no longer encrypted at this point. So take a screenshot of 28. So how do I know if the file is encrypted? The file extension is changed. It's changed back to .txt and it removed the CPT, right? Now we're going to go ahead and read it. Okay, so we're going to try to read the copy encrypted file still, right? Because, you know, I'm going to show you, even if you encrypt the original file, the copy file is still encrypted. We decrypt the original file, the copy file is still encrypted. Okay, it should be. So we're gonna cat. We're gonna use cat command. And we're gonna read the copied file again. And it should still be encrypted because we didn't really decrypt it, right? We decrypt the original file, not the copy file. Okay. So the whole purpose is whatever you encrypt, in order to access it, you have to decrypt. Even if you copy the encrypt, you have to decrypt the copy file. It doesn't work like if you decrypt the original, it's going to unlock the other ones too. No, right? Whatever you lock, you have to unlock. If it's a copy of the lock, you have to unlock the copy. Okay. Understand? Okay. All right, so once we try to read, take a screenshot, do you see plain text? No, right? We didn't decrypt the copy file. So no. Yeah. I think, if you do 30 again, it's a repeat of 29, but you should compare. So give me a second. If I do a cat command for my secret file, I should be able to read it now, right? I should be able to read it now. It's no longer symbols because I just decrypted. So if you compare the copy one to the original decrypted file, it should be different. LSL. Whatever you see is blue, space, dash, space is magic. Okay. There you go. So no, there's nothing in there. So you see, look at your path. You have a folder called secret and another folder called secret. If you make a file, that brings it out. 23 is you should not LSL. You only LSL after you make the file. So, okay. So, yeah, LSL here. Screenshot that, and then you can copy. Okay. But you're in 1-2 deep. So type CD space dot dot. You're 1-2 deep in. There's nothing inside your subfolder. You're in a secret folder inside a secret folder. You understand? So you need to back out one. CD space dot dot. Did it back out one? Are we okay? All right. So what we did, so let me fix this real quick because I think it's probably confusing. The content of the original file. Yeah, because you were in a subfolder earlier. You see your path is different from the two pop-ups before. You always look at your path. Okay, so when we compare the difference between encrypted and decrypted, and then what we're gonna do is we're gonna make a private text file, right? Come back over here, okay? And what we're gonna do is we are going to create a text file. So how do I do that? Cat private.txt. Just like what I did with the secret file. If you need help, okay, let's repractice. So in order to make my file, right, I can do a cat. You can also use touch commands. There are other commands that you can use to make your file, but make sure that you have it in the right folder. So in the next few steps, it tells you, go ahead and make a private.txt file. So I'm going to do a cat private.txt, press enter. Oh. Arrow. With the arrow. And then you can say, this is my private file, like this. right? So for the file, I'm going to do cat arrow private.txt, just like how we did secret.txt. Once you have the text content that you want, press Control D. Sorry, clicking it. And then what I'm going to do is I can do LSL. So just repeat the step and see your file. So now I have the third file right here, right? And then if I want to encrypt it, how do I do that? ccrypt, right? Private.txt. Okay, so after I cat arrow private.txt, I make the file. I type in its content. I would list the folder content. So doing LSL is going to show me that I made the third file right there. And then I'm going to go ahead and encrypt it. Okay, by doing ccrypt. And its file name. Make sure that you see the bold. That means that it exists. And then we are going to go ahead and type the same key. Repeat. So if you repeat the earlier step just for a different file, it should work. Now I can try to read it. Now, when you read, you don't need the arrow key. When you make, you need to have the arrow key. Okay? Oh. Yeah. So I cannot read it. Why? Because it added the CPT. Okay, so let's do LSL. Why can I not read private.txt? Because, okay. Because it added this. So now I'm going to try to cat it. Right? I cannot read it because it's symbol. So when you try to read the encrypted file, you have to make sure that it has the encrypted extension. When you encrypt it, it added the file extension. So if you try to read cat private.txt, it will not work because that file is no longer that file. It's changed to an encrypted file. So you can practice encrypting and decrypting. Okay, so I did that, right? I encrypted the private.txt file. And let's try to see, after I encrypt it, I'm going to do step 33. ccguess is a tool that's used, so we're going to try to see if we can guess what's in this encrypted file. Okay, so you can use the ccguess. And I'll just put, we're going to give it a little bit of a hint of the key. Do you think they'll be successful brute forcing the key? So we're going to try to break the encryption with ccguess for the ccrypt. Now, because the processor is kind of slow for the VN, so CCS, you don't have to let it run until it's finished, but I want you to see on how it would try to brute force or it should find a matching pattern for the key. So in order to break encryption is either to capture the key or to brute force the key, right? Even if we give it a hint with the 3 characters, you see that it does take a long time to guess the key. So the longer your key, the more effective it is for your encryption protection, right? Okay. So at some point, you don't have to wait for it to be done, and it will tell you how many key that it tried. You can let it run for a little bit. And then we can screenshot it. And when you, again, when you do LSL, and you can open up multiple terminal, just gotta make sure that you're in the right path, okay? If you guys want to cancel processes, Control C is going to cancel the process. And it's gonna tell you that these are the matching pattern. If you don't wait for it to finish, you can screenshot this, you know. But if you let it run for like 30 minutes plus, it's gonna give you the results. So it does take a while. Okay, so take a screenshot for 34. You don't have to answer that question. Okay, we should be able to answer 37. We already answered it earlier. So if the file is decrypted using ccrypt, it should put it with the regular file extension like txt, right, for the .text. So it reverts it back to the original file extension. If it's encrypted, then it adds the CPT or the encrypted file extension. So it changes the nature of the file that way. Let's do hash integrity. So hash is basically used for integrity. If you talk to anyone in cybersecurity, you ask them, how can I make sure that my file has integrity? They're gonna tell you, check the hash, right? So when your file is created in the system, in any OS, it's gonna create a string called for hash. And different operating systems using different hash algorithms, right? Like you would see MD5 or SHA-1, right? By this class, we should already know what a hash is, right? What kind of hash algorithm is used. So we are gonna make a file called test.txt. Again, back into your terminal. How do I make a file? Cat arrow, right? Test.txt. And we can say this is a test file. Control D. You gotta click in it. Okay. So now what we're gonna do is we are going to use SHA-256 sum. So the algorithm we're gonna use is SHA-256. 256 sum, right? And then the file that we made, test.txt. So this gives you the hash value that is generated for that particular file. Any question? Now, can I use another algorithm as long as it's supported? So SHA-256 is supported in most OSs, especially like Kali Linux. It is a Debian release. So if you can also use SHA-256 in Windows environment. For the modern Windows, it does support it. So what you would see is you would see the hash value. So now, let's say that I send you my test.txt. How can you verify that this file has integrity? It is genuine, right? It's not cheap. Well, you just need to match up the exact hash. So what you're gonna do is on your system, you use the hash ID, look at the file hash that you receive. If it's exactly the same as the original hash, you have a match. So a lot of times integrity application, what it does is it checks the original hash compared to what's received, right? And if it's exactly the same, then it's a good file that has a good integrity. But if it's changed even for one character on the hash, it's been modified. Understand? So today you're able to generate a hash value for a file. So if I have like other files, it doesn't have to be a text file. You just gotta use the command for the hash and then the file name. Okay? Now, when you create that file in the previous line, it should already have a hash. You can also add another hash with a different algorithm to it. Can a file have multiple hash values with different algorithms? Yes. Okay. So when you download software from online and they give you the hash value, what does it mean? Well, if you have an infected software, the hash doesn't match. Okay, so that hash is for you to check to make sure that that file is not modified or injected with malware. Okay, so screenshot it. Okay, and then we're gonna use lastly the hash identifier. Okay, what we're gonna do is we are gonna copy. Okay, so once you open up the hash identifier, okay, we're gonna copy the hash value from here, and we're gonna paste it down here, right? Did I do it correctly? Before you go, give me your last name. Okay. Now, if it's not able to identify, then, you know, a lot of times software, sometimes it is what it is, right? It is how it is designed. But the whole point in this is for you to use a software to be able to find what kind of hash that is. Let's say that you receive a file and you get a hash value, you don't know what kind of hash algorithm they use. You can use hash ID to do that. Can you break a hash? Yes. Now they also multi-hash. There's many different techniques to also protect the identity of your file company. Yeah. Oh, you need that, right? Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Yep. Good night. Okay, so once we have used this, take a screenshot. And then what we're gonna do is I'm gonna get out of the hash ID by pressing Control C. And then what I'm gonna get back to my terminal. You can do Control Alt T, and we're gonna do a cat test.txt. We're gonna modify it. We're gonna say this is modified. Control D. And then we're gonna regenerate the hash. A trick is you can press arrow key a few times. So that way, like 2-3 times, you're gonna get back to the prior command. And you notice that it's not exactly the same, right? This is the old hash and this is the new one. So whenever that you modify the file, once you save the modification to the file, you see that the hash is completely different. So now that you understand how to check for file integrity, you just need to make sure that you look at what hash value it has. Is there a tool that they do this automatically? Yes, because if you have thousands of files that you need to go through. Now, let's say that you have a breach and you kind of have a scope on the type of system that they impacted, and you have to go and find out what they modified, right? The best thing to do is have an inventory of your file and then the hash of the files, and then check to see if there's compare. Your forensic system also is going to tell you when it was accessed, when it was modified, if it was moved. So there are software tools that allows you to see, you know, file attributes and properties that way. But, you know, sometimes we need to manually do that. Yes, sir. So you just use the same key before secure 01. Right. So once that's done, you're gonna see. Yeah. Just like no problem. No apologize. So your file doesn't exist specifically, so you fold it. Do LSL. So it's already been, it's text out. Yeah, just a typo, so you gotta make sure that you, so instead of test that text, you just do text that. Done? Okay, see you later. Okay, see you more. Beautiful. Controls. You don't have to answer. If you have for it to be done, that one is slow. You have to have only four to I think. Okay. All right. So once we have this, we would do hashdeep. Okay, so you can continue with the step and be able to do hashdeep for the tool. So the difference between the SHA-256 sum, right? The SHA-256 sum, that one is a hash generator. The hash identifier looked at the hash value. Okay. The hash identifier look at the hash value and tell you the type of hash. This one is not always accurate. Sometimes I cannot find it. It's not that reliable. You have there's hash ID, there's other packages that you can use. And then you can also use hashdeep. And hashdeep comes with Kali. So we're gonna try this last one and then I'll do attendance. And some of you want to go already because some of you are done. Okay. So hashdeep is going to list all the hash value for that particular file that you're asking for. So I'm asking for what kind of hashes my test.txt have. You notice that it has like the comma is the separator and it's gonna list. So when you can have as many hashes as you want for that particular file, when you see it, it's gonna look like this, right? If you're using something like hashdeep. So hashdeep doesn't only list the one, right? It's gonna list all the hash value for that particular file. Like the original when it first created, right? When I modified the 777 was when I modified the file, right? And it tells you the location of that particular file. So hashdeep is useful. Why? Because let's say that I assume that maybe one of the disgruntled employee went in and modified some content of my file, right? And then got fired and or we got rid of them or let or quit. We can go in, we can use hashdeep and we can look at those files and see if they're hash generated. If the files are not touched, so let's say my files was created by someone and it was archived, it should not have any kind of hash value, a secondary hash value, because it hasn't been modified, right, or generated. So if I create the file once and store it away, right, save it, it should not have a secondary hash value because it's not generated through modification or hash value. Understand? So there are ways that we can look at whether that file has integrity or not using some of these tools. And this is kind of important because I've seen students that have gone through security programs and then they kind of know what a hash is, but they don't know how it's used and how it's applied. So I hope that you can see this on an analyst lens because a lot of times we have to piece back the picture on what had happened, like what was broken, and so on. Okay. All right, I'm gonna stop recording. So when you get through this, take a screenshot, answer the questions. When you shut down your computer or your virtual machine, you're gonna do shut down now, like that, okay? And it's gonna take a second to shut everything down. Don't just X out because it's gonna pause your machine, okay? Make sure we save your work. And let's stop recording and do attendance.